possibly be, am I right? Is that why you're here? Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me tell you, even we run the risk of not living our lives to their full potential. Because actually it takes energy, it takes determination, and it takes guts to truly step up to the plate. Both of us are born with sort of two key halves. One half is the half that we see. It's the you, it's the you, it's the me. The other half is our life purpose, it's our dreams. And unfortunately, for so many people, that fairly important other half just kind of lies slumbering in a coma, and it dies a lifetime later without ever even seeing the light of day. We choose, you see, whether we live just the life that we happen to have, or we actually step into the role and we live the life that we're destined to have. Every single person is born with a specific purpose. And every single person is born with that innate capacity to achieve that purpose. So whether your life soars or whether it stagnates, it's a matter of it's a matter of choice. It's not a matter of chance. I'd like to take you on a journey, if I may. The journey of a young girl who made those choices. She was born in a very rural part of South Africa. It was very isolated from the world. In those days, believe it or not, South Africa didn't actually have any television. Didn't have television until 1976. So it was definitely an isolated life. And it was really quite an idyllic childhood. A lot of time spent playing outside, mucking around, primarily with her little brother, Christopher. They were best buddies, really. They really had a tight connection, and that connection continued all the way through their lives as they grew up together. But if you'd been with her just 15 years later, you'd have been standing next to her and her parents, sobbing as they watched the coffin of their murdered son and brother being lowered into its grave. Many of you have probably felt that type of grief before in your own lives, that sorrow that literally grips your core. The sheer shock and horror of what had happened that night that her brother was killed actually caused her to miscarry. So on that very same Monday night, she lost a baby as well as her brother. A few months down the line, she was the one with her life on the line. She was being rushed into emergency surgery. She was pregnant again, but this was an ectopic pregnancy, and it had caused internal hemorrhaging so bad that an emergency operation and 2 months in ICU saved her life, but cost that of her little one, and it left scars that were physical and mental. 3 years down the line, she was very, very happy to be the mum to 2 beautiful babies. But she was also locked in a marriage governed by abuse. If you could have seen her, even in that hot African sun, she would always wear long trousers and always be wearing sleeves to cover the bruises and the welts that were inflicted on a horribly regular basis. Trouble was, following the death of her brother, her parents had moved back across to Ireland. They just couldn't handle what had happened. And so she was very, very alone, literally alone. She felt she couldn't talk to her friends about what was happening because the punishment that would be meted out if her husband ever discovered that she'd let the genie out the bottle, that she'd actually peeled back the skin of that apple to reveal that rotten core beneath, just didn't bear thinking about. You see, unfortunately, a life that's governed by abuse is also a life that's governed by fear. And ironically, one of the greatest fears is the consequences of what will happen if you make the decision to break free. Now, of course, that young lady is me, and I can tell you exactly what the consequences are when I told my abusive husband that I wanted to leave him. Very early hours of the morning of the 26th of September 2000, I was lying bleeding and battered on the floor with a loaded gun being held to my head, and the last words I remember hearing was, "I will never let you go." I literally attribute the fact that I'm still alive to the fact that my sister-in-law chose that moment to ring our front doorbell. She'd been at dinner at our house earlier that evening, and she'd kind of realised that things were escalating out of control, and to quote her, something made me come back. And it was the arrival of her and her parents, their absolute refusal to leave the house, and their insistence on getting me medical treatment that saved my life that night. I'm very embarrassed to say that I very nearly gave him another chance. I almost didn't have the courage to see it through. It was actually the knowledge that at some stage he would come through on his promises and my little children would be left alone with him that finally made me realise I actually had to take hold of my fear. Thanks very much to the help of a battered woman's charity, I was able to take those first few steps towards freedom. But the reality is I was now a single mum to 2 little children under 6. There was no family support, there was no maintenance coming in. I was trying to juggle 3 jobs just to pay the bills. So what made me stick to my journey? Well, I had a catalyst. Most of us actually need a catalyst. We need a someone or a something that actually makes us light that spark within us. And in my case, it happened to be the man that I met, who is now my husband and has been for a number of years. And to be honest, it was his love and his ability to actually stick by me when any sane person would have gone running for the hills, let me tell you, that actually made me stick to my guns and actually go with what I was going through. I'm sure several of you have at different times found yourselves embraced in circumstances beyond your control. Perhaps you've been trapped by fear. Maybe fear of circumstances, maybe fear of change. What happens when you actually are able to get out of that dark place? Well, in my situation, my career flourished. As a matter of interest, it caused me to go and study, and I became a doctor of psychology. I ran a very successful psychology practice. I owned and edited a women's magazine. I had regular slots on television and radio. I used to talk at all sorts of big motivational events. Life was great, actually. I had a happy marriage. My kids were amazing. There was money in the bank. But life doesn't always work in straight lines. And I actually couldn't believe it when a whole nother set of challenges decided to appear on my doorstep. I was diagnosed with cancer. I was 38 years old, and I was told I had very, very little chance of making 40. The very same week I got that news, I also got a very distraught phone call from my mum in Ireland. And she was literally, I could feel her nerves on the phone as she's saying to me, "Jane, please get on a plane. Your dad's in hospital and I don't think he's going to make it through the night." I felt like I couldn't breathe. My dad was my hero. He was a motivational speaker. He was an entertainer. How could somebody so much larger than life be that close to death? By the time I got off that plane in Ireland, I was running on pure adrenaline. Fortunately, I discovered when I made it to the hospital, they'd saved my dad's life. His throat had paralysed closed, and they'd had to give him a permanent tracheostomy to enable him to breathe. But they'd also diagnosed him with a terminal condition. It's called Shy-Drager syndrome. And it's one of those conditions that quite literally kills you. One function at a time, one organ at a time, until your body just gives up. And the speed of that slide was unbelievable. I would travel over to see my parents from South Africa probably every 3 or 4 months, and every single time I went over, the change was noticeable. First it was his trachea. Next thing I knew, he had a stomach feed. Then he had one of those Stephen Hawking type voice machines. Then he had a catheter. Then he was in a wheelchair. For the last 3.5 years of my dad's life, he was 100% paralysed. And the sad thing was, he was 100% mentally perfect, because this is a condition of the body, not the mind. Now Just imagine that. Trapped in the smallest jail any of us could ever imagine. Not able to say a single word, share a single thought, move a single muscle. More than anything, I wanted my dad to be able to answer me when I spoke to him. I wanted to hear his advice, even if it was just one more time. And the sad thing was, I knew it was never going to happen. When he died, about a week later, I received the most incredible gift I could have possibly asked for. It was one last communication from a dad to a daughter. Because when they were going through his papers, they found an envelope with my name on. And inside that envelope was a single sheet of paper. I'd like to read it to you. Jane, my whole life I've been chasing dreams. Some I achieved, but many others passed me by. I have loved your mother more than life itself. All of my life, I've tried to give her the life that I felt she deserved. And over again, I came short. I had no idea that I wouldn't have the time or the ability to fix the problem. Please, look after her for me. Jane, please embrace every day. When opportunity knocks, don't complain about the noise. If you don't like your life, create another one and live that life instead. Within you, you have the ability to create magic. And remember, my sweetheart, you only have to do the impossible once for all things to become possible. Life is short. Live it, love it, laugh with it. I believe in you. I'll donate those applause to my dad. Now, we've been thinking at this stage for a long time of moving from South Africa to the UK, and to be honest, it was that letter that kind of galvanised us into action, that got us to stop thinking and start doing. So we did. We sold up and we moved across. The trouble is, we actually moved across with very little more than the clothes on our back. The cost of my medical treatment had been absolutely phenomenal. The cost of the move, the cost of the custody case I had to move my children across here, absolutely emptied the bank accounts. They say that you can't put a price on your health and your kids. I can. It was scary. Now I had no reputation to fall back on, no money in the bank, no job to come to, and I still had a family to feed. But actually it didn't matter, because what I did have was a 100% conviction that you can do anything you set your mind to. If you're prepared to pay the price, you can reap the rewards. And the price is not financial. The price is paid in tenacity, in determination, in flexibility, in a willingness to actually just set your ego aside. To put it bluntly, a willingness to do anything that moves you in the direction of your goals. I did anything. I did commission-only sales, I did training, I did all sorts of things. It didn't matter how much work it took, how far it moved me outside of my comfort zone, as long as I saw it was aligned to my end purpose. I knew that I had to prove to my dad that I wasn't just going to be alright. I was going to prove to him that we were going to be pretty damn fine, actually. And very, very slowly, week by week, month by month, I found myself moving in the direction that I wanted to go in. The thing is, very often it's not just about tweaking the path you're on. Sometimes you actually just have to take your whole life and turn it upside down on its head. Sometimes you've just got to have the faith that if you will take the leap universe will provide you with somewhere safe to land. Just do it. Trouble is, most of us get a bit stuck. We get stuck with two main things. Number one, our comfort zones. It's not a comfort blanket, it's a fire blanket. It will extinguish your flame. Second thing is, we've all got this natural urge to procrastinate. Now, if time can be defined as opportunity and possibility, isn't procrastination the devil that kills it? So what do we want to do? Going to sit on the couch with that devil? Or are we going to actually get up and get going and leave him sitting on the couch without us? How difficult could it possibly be to just conquer two things? And the thing is that actually, once you set your mind to it, it's not that difficult at all. I'm not saying it's all plain sailing. Nothing worthwhile really is, let's face it. Sometimes those steps up your ladder of success might not be the ones that are fun, they're just the ones that are necessary. Sometimes that siren of sleep calls louder than the pull of progress. It doesn't make you bad, it just makes you human. Most people don't succeed because they were destined to succeed. Most people who succeed because they're determined to succeed. We can't change the shapes of our past, but what we can do is we can change the shape of our future. Every single day I thank my blessings. I live on the most beautiful farm, up in the Peak Districts. I've got views that go on forever. My children, they've had the benefit of a first-class private education. My mum, I've bought her the little property right next door to where I live. I've got 3 successful businesses that help other businesses and other people flourish and make the best of themselves. I've been lucky enough over the years to share the stages with the Richard Bransons and with the Nelson Mandelas, and now with the Andy Harringtons. The thing is, you can do anything that you set your mind to. Absolutely anything. It's taken me 3.5 years to come from starting all over again to standing on this stage. And if that little African farm girl can make her journey, what could possibly stop you? May your God, whoever he or she may be, bless your journey. To the man who's going to take you on this part of your journey, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening with my mate Andy.
Give it up one more time for the amazing Jane Cox, please. Dr. Jane Cox. Wow, extraordinary. So, that all